The reason we're here today, and we've got so many people joining us, is we're actually, this is the first of a number of workshops on collaboration, and particularly collaboration in the philanthropic space. As many of you would know, we launched our case study. I think it was only a week ago that we've been doing with our out-of-home care funders network. And today is one of the first workshop that we had planned as a part of a series that will lead us into what we hope will be a grant process. Now, here's the agenda for today. I'm really lucky because I'm able to hand over to the wonderful Sonia Sharp, partner, People Advisory Services of EY, and also Georgina Gates. But I wanted to welcome you all here today. And when you're going through the process of the learning opportunity that we're presenting to you, don't think about this just in relation to philanthropy and how you might work with philanthropy and how you might collaborate on innovation, but think about the opportunities for this model to apply to funding that you might be procuring from the state or federal government. This approach around collaboration is what everybody's looking for now. None of us work alone, and some of the problems that we're trying to address are so systems-wide that working together is actually really crucial and harder than it looks. But if there's a sector that's good at it, it's the child, youth and family services sector. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to, I hope, Sonia, who might be here now, and Georgina Gates, to take us through this agenda and take us through this session. There's lots to occupy you. I know there's a bit of breakout rooms and there's some polling. So do enjoy the session. And as I said, if you can think about these things, not just in relation to philanthropy, but also in relation to other funding that you might be procuring or involved in, please do that. So over to Sonia or Georgina.
Thanks, Deb. I think that Sonia is still having some technical issues, so I will kick us off. Hi everyone, I'm Georgie Gates from EY and a director in our human services practice. And I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and any Aboriginal people across our respective organisations and communities. So in terms of our agenda today, and Deb, you've neatly captured it, we are going to take you through a little bit of the background and theory around collaboration and innovation, but particularly looking at, you know, why is it important and how can it add value to practice and to opportunities for collaborative and innovative service design in the children and families and out-of-home care sectors. So actually, if we could go to the next slide, please, Alicia. We are going to have a bit of a mix of formats today. There'll be a little bit of me and Sonia presenting some information and interesting content. We have a couple of case studies to talk about, and we're also going to have some opportunities for you to get together in very small breakout groups and have a bit of a reflection around where you've seen collaboration and innovation work well, what could have made it work better, and how can you consider opportunities to build better collaboration and innovation into service design and practice, and particularly thinking about the upcoming grants opportunities that will be ahead of you. So by the end of our session today, we will hope that you'll have a bit of a better understanding around what innovation looks like, what collaboration looks like in practice, how to use it in service design, and some of the steps to support implementation of better collaboration and innovation, but also particularly the opportunity to reflect on that and consider how you can embed that into your ways of working and grant submissions as well. So firstly, just to, I suppose, introduce our topics for today and speak a little around why collaboration and innovation. If we can go to the next page, thanks, Alicia. So what is collaboration? Collaboration is really where we are working together with others in order to work towards a common goal. And I suppose that's a fairly self-explanatory definition, and I'm sure you're all familiar with some elements of collaboration and collaborative practice. But why is it important? Well, it's really important because it does very much look at how we can foster supportive networks, both in terms of the way we work together across the service system, but also opportunities to really collaborate with a broad range across our ecosystem, including hearing the voice of our clients and participants in service delivery as well. It does provide an opportunity to create more value through the services that we deliver, and share knowledge and intelligence across the service system in terms of what works in practice, and where we can look at opportunities to grow and build that together. It really does help us elicit new perspectives and ideas, and sound those out across each other, and look at where we are developing new practice and to the benefit of children and families. And I think collectively through collaboration, we can also look at how we can together improve our understanding and knowledge of the out-of-home care sector and the opportunities to better work with children and families. And I think ultimately collaboration really helps to amplify voices and impact across the sector. And there are some really good examples of collaborative practice and collaboration in children and families, which we'll talk through as we get a bit further into our session today. So what is innovation? Innovation is really where we are looking at how we improve current processes or approaches or services, and look at where we can enable more effective processes, approaches or ideas. And in the context of service delivery and children and families in out-of-home care, we're really looking at where we have the opportunity to accelerate impact and try new ideas that really can have an improved outcome for children and families. So why is innovation important? I think once again it really does help us to foster new ideas and look at ways in which we can together innovate and iterate and build on our ideas and across the sector, and strengthen those together so that we can look at opportunities for implementation and change. It helps us to reevaluate our current methods and processes, and I think particularly it provides an opportunity to really focus on the problem and getting to the heart of the root cause of challenges and problems, and coming up with new opportunities that may not have been necessarily tested or considered before. And I think as well, one aspect that is really important here is that it does also allow us an opportunity to reframe and repurpose approaches and services to get greater cultural relevance and build that into our thinking as well. And I think really there are many areas where innovation and collaborative practice can together help us foster improvements and change, and really tackle problems in a different way in children and families. So I suppose finally, why are we talking about this today? And it is really very much in the context of collaborative philanthropy. And collaborative philanthropy really does look at where we can combine collaboration and innovation, particularly between sector partners and philanthropic organisations, so that we're able to better identify and support opportunities for change and improvement. And interestingly, I think in preparing for this workshop and some of the work that we've been doing with the Out-of-Home Care Philanthropic Funders Network, we've really seen quite a strong impact that collaborative philanthropy can make. It really provides an opportunity for not only philanthropic organisations to collaborate together and pool their collective knowledge and understanding of the sector and better draw on research and evidence and stakeholder input to understand needs and needs and opportunities for innovation. But also I think in pooling funding through collaborative philanthropy, it really does allow a much stronger impact and an ability to take an approach where we really can look at genuine opportunities for innovation that may not be catered for or addressed either through government or through any one service provider alone, and together in partnership with the sector look at where there is opportunity to collaborate to strengthen and tackle challenges within the sector and ultimately deliver better outcomes for children and families. So I think that's probably our introduction around our topics for today. Sonia, I know you've now joined. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that before we go into have a bit of time for some brief reflection in groups around our themes of collaboration and innovation?
Oh, thanks, Georgie, and hello, everybody, and apologies for being slightly late. But I can't wait for us to be able to meet in a room when all you have to do is walk in through a door. So I had a few tech issues, but no, let's get on, because the discussions we're going to go into are really important, and I'd rather favour the time for those.
Thanks, Sonia. Okay, so we're going to have some very short breakout groups now, and really I think through this we're keen to give you a brief opportunity to reflect on your experiences of collaboration and innovation, and think about our key questions here. Firstly, what made your experience of collaboration and innovation effective? And secondly, what could have improved the outcomes you achieved through that collaboration and innovation opportunity? So I think, Rachel, have we got about 5 minutes for the breakout groups? I think that's
Yes.
yep, thanks, Rachel. So in a moment, you will be directed into a breakout group where you'll have just a few minutes to have a quick discussion with a small group of our participants today and reflect on this question. And then we're going to bring you back and use a short Menti poll to hear about what you discussed. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that gave you a really quick opportunity to reflect and hear from others in your group. Now, thinking about the questions that you discussed, we're now just going to do a really quick Menti poll to get some feedback from you around those questions. The question there is, what made your collaboration and innovation experience effective? And as you can see on screen, we're showing live everyone's responses, and it's great to see everyone's responses coming in. So I can see times coming up, and interestingly, you'll see the bigger words reflect where people have entered that multiple times. So times coming up is important. Common goals. I can see some other things around having shared goals, common ground rules, equal parts, listening, data, purpose, clarity, the right voices, transparency, coordination. Really, I think quite a range of thoughts everyone's contributed, but I love seeing everyone, everyone's thinking about what's made collaboration and innovation effective in your experience.
And I think Georgie, there's some there's some theme clusters emerging from looking here. So we've definitely got a lot of emphasis on teaming from the outset. So people coming together as equal partners and investing the time and effort in thinking through what do we want to achieve and what's the best way of doing that, and a commitment to working together and sticking with that. And then another set around clarity of vision, a common purpose, common goals. So everybody heading in the same direction and focused on the same issues. And then another theme around being open to new and different thinking and creativity. So trying to think outside the box to explore different ways of solving whatever issue it is that's being focused on.
Great. Well, we have our second question to go to now. So, Alicia, if we're able to load the second question in everyone's Menti, and it should tell you to go to a new slide to answer the second question. So the second question is, what could have improved your collaboration and innovation outcomes? So if you enter one or more responses and hit submit, and then we'll start to see everyone's responses come through on screen. It's very interesting to see. I think time's coming through again as a real factor in enabling genuine collaboration and innovation. But also, I think, you know, even some of the things we were saying were kind of real success factors that helped contribute to you know, positive experience, are also things that could have improved the outcomes. So, you know, the need for shared purpose, time, having the structure and clarity of roles and responsibilities, having the kind of the quality of data to support the innovative opportunity. Yeah, great. Courageous thinking. I really like that one. I think that's something sometimes we get a bit, you know, bound by what we might have done before, or, you know, concerned about the risks of taking an innovative approach. Yeah, that's a great one.
Time question, Georgie, because it's really interesting, and what we do know is to really build a genuine team where we work together around a common issue and build good solutions and also innovate, then time to come together, time to build and strengthen relationships, and time to really think and create like the kind of flow in the work is really important. I think this is a really helpful reminder of that. Anybody, and of course always cocktails, I would say, by the way, but anybody who put time want to say anything there about, you know, the kind of the solutions that you found, how you use that time, how you found that time?
I think in my group, Sonia, we had a representative from one of the Aboriginal community controlled organisations, and one of the comments they made was, we're consulting all the time and we've got relationships that are pre-existing, and that really assists in collaboration because those relationships and consultation and engagement facilities and opportunities are already available as a constant, because that's part of the business. So I thought that was really interesting.
So you've already got a team, you've already got partnerships, and then you can build on those. Whereas if you don't, then you have to, and also those partnerships haven't been created overnight. They've been invested in over time.
And it's part of your normal BAU, so you've already got that structure in place. That was really interesting.
Any other observations or comments before we move on? Okay, Georgie.
Great. Thanks, Alicia. So we might go back to the presentation deck now, and really keen to now share with you a couple of case studies and also some insights into some different frameworks and approaches that can help you in thinking through the way you go about collaborative and innovative practice and service design, and particularly thinking ahead to opportunities from a grants perspective. So Alicia, it's still showing us the Menti screen, so I'm just wondering if we can, oh fab, perfect, thank you. So some of you might be familiar with this case study. I really like it because I think it's a good example of where a particular approach to innovation has been taken, and this Australian Centre for Social Innovation really were looking to design a new model of foster care, but do that in a way where it really did involve collaboration between carers and parents, as well as those who were looking at it from a research and a service delivery perspective. So some of the kind of features of this particular example, they did take an evidence-informed approach, and I think as well having a really strong theory of change that helps support that approach was considered a key feature of its design. And part of the focus in this example was really being able to take a very deliberate approach for a very specific cohort, and being able to understand and explore what the evidence showed in terms of their needs, to look at how they could work with carers and parents to really understand the personal aspects of the challenge and what would best be tailored to their needs in terms of a service solution. And there was quite strong engagement and research that supported the program. And then I think in terms of the actual approach to service design, it really did allow quite a evidence-informed model to be developed, and was done in a way that really did allow some of that ideation and innovative thinking without constrained boundaries initially. That helped to foster real ideas on opportunities to strengthen a more collaborative model and look at opportunities that supported both carers and parents, as well as the children and young people, to bring them home. So keen to just share this. This is one example of collaboration and innovation in practice. And in a few moments, shortly we'll also hear from Lauren Gordon from Anchor, who'll talk through a model. But first, we're going to just talk through a couple of approaches that might help you think through opportunities to look at where and how you can build in collaboration and innovation in practice. Thanks, Alicia. Let's go to the next page. Great. So the first area that we wanted to talk about was around the collaboration, and there's a really handy framework called the Collaboration Index Framework that talks about 5 main dimensions for successful collaboration. The first is strategic alignment, then we have communication and trust, cross-sector engagement, value and creation sharing, and cross-sectoral governance. Now, some of the things that I think I'm really keen to just call out here to help give a bit of insight into what we mean here. So with the first area around strategic alignment, clearly here there is a need to have strong alignment of purpose and clarity of goal. And I think some of you, or many of you, actually called that out in our questions just prior to now. And I think here it is about how do you not only define what that goal is, but create alignment of everyone working towards that goal. And some of that is both in terms of the time required to really build relationships and ensure you are aligned, but also to take a deliberate approach to the way that you define that goal, and ensure that everyone has a kind of mutual and common understanding of that and commitment to it. The second is around communication and trust. And here, I think this was also called out by many of you in our discussion just now. Firstly, I think it's really important that we look at opportunities and ways to build strong and supportive communication and networks between organisations. And I think it is about how do you create a sense of psychological safety where you're able to trust each other and have a level of a strength of relationship to be able to collaborate together and feel safe to share and develop and invest in a common goal together. The next area is around cross-sector engagement, and here, clearly what we are looking at here, and particularly when we're thinking about collaborative philanthropy within and collaboration and innovation within child and family services and out-of-home care, we are really looking at opportunities for different sector partners across the sector more broadly to come together and tackle problems and identify opportunities to solve or target sort of quite niche areas with new ideas and really kind of bringing together the collective knowledge and experience, and also opportunity to come together around and support different cohorts and needs. So really looking here at the quality of and outcomes of engagement across organisation. When it comes to value and creation sharing, it is very much about how you can create value together, and that value can be acknowledged and seen and recognised by all parties. So here it is about looking at opportunities through that collaboration to share and have reciprocity in terms of the way that you share and work together, and having a sense of mutual collaboration and benefit for all, and particularly in terms of that common goal from the outset, the way that you're together contributing towards that common goal and seen to be also really very much delivering value. And then I think the final point on governance is quite important, because it is about how do you create agile but strong governance that also allows for some agreed upon approaches for communication, governance, understanding performance of innovation and initiatives, and also I think being able to monitor and iterate the effectiveness of your collaborative approaches as well. And I think through strong cross-sectoral governance, there is an opportunity to really look at how that collaboration can be deliberately approached, but also deliberately, I suppose, monitored, and recognising that everyone is investing time to undertake and work in a collaborative way. We want to make sure that we're seeing the outcomes as well for everybody's collective benefit and for the benefit of children and families. So that's the collaboration index. Now, a couple of other things that you might find helpful are around from an innovation perspective, and one of the methodologies and approaches that can be really effective in supporting innovation is around design thinking. And many of you have probably no doubt come across this before or tried out some of these methods in previous service delivery opportunities and cross-sector collaborative practice. But we thought we would share it with you today. And firstly, I think there are a couple of features of design thinking. The first is around taking a human-centered design approach, and when we look at human-centered design, we are really looking at the way that we can understand client needs and genuinely design with a human perspective with the client or the beneficiary of our services as the kind of core focus of our design. It needs to be contextual, so it does need to consider the wider environment, and we're talking here very much it is about the sector, but also the community in which we're working, the nature of the contextual factors that are impacting on our children and families that we serve, and all of that sort of thing. We need to be able to embrace ambiguity. So recognising that in any innovative and collaborative initiative, there is always a level of uncertainty. You may not know quite where you're going to end up and what outcome you're going to achieve. So there is a level of risk involved that we need to be able to accept and embrace and navigate through that. And sometimes I think some of the features of collaboration can help us navigate through that effectively together. Being able to make it is an interesting term, but here we're really looking at, how can you actually take an idea and turn it into a reality? And sometimes this is about, in a service design context, how do you create a prototype? How do you really look at ways to build something that you can test out, or even build a kind of concept and service design prototype that you can then test and shape with your clients in mind, and seek really broad input to iterate that design. Iterative is a key feature of design thinking, and it is about how do you quickly get to a kind of strong view of what you might be able to deliver in the future, and what might be your sort of prototype in terms of innovation, but being able to then continuously work on that and improve it over time. Being experimental and collaborative are also really important features, and here it is about how do we actually keep ourselves open to new possibilities, but also recognise that we might encounter failure throughout the approach, and we might also need to recognise that we need to go back to square one and try our experimenting again. But really, I think with the foundational platform of our collaborative approach, we can take risks and develop our thinking together, and look at ways of innovating and building new service delivery models and innovative practice that can foster better outcomes for children and families. Sonia, were you about to add something there? Sorry, I was
only going to go. I think probably we can go on to the next one, but I was just going to ask, there was a comment in the chat around time, and I just wanted to mention that because we do know that when we're working, when we are designing and we're in that kind of innovative, creative, co-design environment, then uninterrupted quality time is really important, and given that came up very strongly in our mentee polls as well. So being able to dedicate, whether it's, and it can be anything from, you know, half a day to a week in terms of design workshops, but the kind of the notion that you can come together and have time to get into flow is the new terminology that a lot of people are using, just to really get your head in the space and not be interrupted by the outside world.
Thanks, Sonia. I think that's a really good call out. Excellent. So very briefly, because I think we'll go into another discussion, and we have one more case study to reflect on too. So the design thinking approach, we've sort of alluded to some of these as we've talked through it, and many of you will be familiar with this as an approach as well. But often design thinking and innovation starts with some research, and that can be quite wide research, gathering evidence of the challenge and the problem that we want to solve, understanding cohort needs, and what we know about the kind of preferences, motivations, and opportunities we might want to shape for children and families. We then need to define that together, and this I think is where some of that shaping it around common goals and having clarity of purpose is really important. Then we move into an ideation stage, and this is where I think often you don't want to be too constrained by barriers. We know we always have some realities and constraints when it comes to service design, and sometimes it's good to call those out as kind of key design assumptions, but really providing a space to and time to have that ideation together, and then allowing to move into prototyping and looking at how we could build a design together, and really shaping that opportunity for innovation in a way that we think is going to meet the needs of our cohort. Evaluation and refinement is also important, and it's where we can then say, okay, we've developed up our initial idea and we've prototyped that, but how can we strengthen it? How can we improve it so it's better going to meet the outcomes that we're trying to achieve? And then finally, of course, moving through to implementation, which is also where things, often are kind of the rubber hits the road in terms of putting this into practice and really looking at making an impact. But that's the design thinking framework and steps to go through it. Now, I might keen to kind of get us into our discussion groups very quickly again. So we'll have another 5 minutes just to reflect in groups. And so if we can go to the next. Oh, my apologies. We were going to talk to the other case study. Sorry, everyone. Lauren, now I think we have Lauren Gordon here from Anchor, who's going to give us a bit of an overview of Brighter Futures and the collaborative and innovative approach on this program.
Hi, everyone. Brighter Futures was the first out-of-home care funders group pilot that was run through, when was it run? 2018 through 2019. It was designed to connect young people to with an out-of-home care experience to community and the opportunity that connection to community brings. I think in terms of collaboration and innovation, there were a few really, really key learnings that came out of it for Anchor and for all of the partners involved. One of the most important was that the voice of the lived experience must be a privileged voice, not only heard but acted upon. And professionals, we do need to admit that we often do get it wrong. So a level of vulnerability in there is very important. It's not a linear process, and as staff change, each person needs time and enough information to feel as though they can connect with the pilot as well. Collaboration does take a lot of time, an awful lot of time, and people do really need to be prepared for that. It's not only time, but the frequency of spending time together with those that you're collaborating with. So a real commitment to the end game, I suppose. People from any organisation, be it government, CSO or otherwise, always do, I think, really do need to take their work hat off, and the relationships such as funder and service provider often need to be put aside. Everyone needs to play a really equal part in there. I think another really important factor there was that it was really important for us to involve more than just the usual suspects. So the people that aren't the usual suspects as well. And it was quite amazing, I think, how the views of people who are really not entrenched in the service system have ideas that really do seem to be so sensible so much of the time. It's important that we listen to and we do include these people because they do care and they do want to make a difference. And I think in terms of innovation across the whole, I think true innovation, we learnt, can only really be realised when all of those things that I've just spoken about are in place. It was a try, test and learn from our end, and we absolutely did do that.
Thanks, Lauren, for sharing that. I think many of you might be familiar with the Brighter Futures story, but it is, I think, really helpful to hear some reflections on you know, what worked well when it came to innovation and collaboration in that example. Okay, so I would like us to, we're going to just break into discussion groups again for just a couple of minutes. Now, really here, we're keen for you to be thinking about, you know, where can I improve and better embed innovation and collaboration in practice, but also really thinking about your opportunities for service design and essentially thinking ahead to upcoming grant submission opportunities, really starting to reflect on where and how you might better embed innovation and a collaborative approach in the way that you prepare for that and go about that process. So to do that, we'd like you to be thinking about better questions, and this is something I think that we do quite a lot at EY, and really, you know, often challenging yourself to think about what's the better question that I need to be asking myself here to strengthen what I'm doing and to really be able to better translate this into practice and service delivery. So in your discussion groups, we'll move to those in just a moment. I'm keen for you to be reflecting on this question. What better questions should you ask yourself to ensure innovative and collaborative service design when preparing grant submissions? Strengthen innovation and collaboration and in preparation for grant submission. I'd encourage you to post your response in the chat, or feel free to just jump in with one or two comments as well.
Georgie, I don't know whether Sam or anybody in our group wants to just come in, because we had a really interesting conversation which very much emphasised the, you know, how do we bring young people into the room, or whoever the user is, so we make sure that we co-design with them from the outset, and also where do we get inspiration from? Who else is somebody else doing this already? So testing ourselves on how innovative we really are being. Why not? As a very powerful question. Who else could help us that we haven't perhaps connected with?
Thanks, Sonia. And I can see in the chat we have getting the basics right: who, what, when, where and why, but also having a clear understanding of the audience and beneficiaries and their wants and needs. And voice of the client is also coming up strongly. And how do we get fresh ideas from outside of our sector as well? So I can see that you've had some really good discussions. I think even in our group, we had a discussion around how do we really challenge ourselves to get really strong alignment on purpose and outcomes up front, and the way that we can kind of be clear on ensuring that the kind of benefits for everyone are really clear as well. And I can see in the chat as well, having higher expectations for our organisation and our clients, challenging our capability and that of our clients. So really great comments there from everybody, and I think shows that everyone's had a bit of a reflect on how to strengthen innovation and collaboration in service design and thinking ahead to grant submission processes. Now I'm conscious. I think we're just about out of time, so we might draw the session to a close. I think it's been really fantastic to hear everyone's reflections and spend a bit of time with you, just talking through collaboration, innovation, and collaborative philanthropy, and looking at ways in which we can strengthen collaboration and innovation in practice. Now, Sonia and Deb, I think I'll hand over to you to close the session.
Thanks, Georgie. Oh my God, that was so powerful and so quick. I think people would have loved another hour. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. Love Menti, love the slides. You always do excellent work for us and for the sector. So I want to say thank you. But I just want to acknowledge our philanthropic funders and equity trustees is up there on the slide. A lot of this would not be happening without them and their vision for the work that we are doing together with them. So I must acknowledge that, again, wouldn't be happening without them, without the platform that they created. And I think, this hour has got us off to a really good start, but has left me wanting more, to be honest. And I get the sense in my groups, the same people, we just touched the surface, but did a lot of work in that short space of time. So I want to thank both of you for pushing us through pretty quickly and getting so much energy and so much out of us in the hour that we had. So thank you so much.
Thanks Deb, and thanks everybody, and thanks Georgie and Alicia and Emma and Rachel, who've all been part of the team for making this happen, and as well as the philanthropic funders and other partners of yours that have made this happen. Of course, there is more. So we have a workshop 2 later this week, where we're going to be really digging in, having had this kind of moment for thought, and we can bring all of those thoughts and observations and reflections into this session, which will be focused on co-design of the Out of Home Care Philanthropic Funders Network Innovation Grants Programme. So that's very exciting. Emma, I don't know if you wanted to have a quick word about that, or?
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. We just popped in the chat the registration for the session on Thursday. If you're not registered yet, we're really keen to have people participating. It's an opportunity to really hone down where we want to focus the innovation grant this year on, and some really important areas to innovation and collaboration that we want to explore. So I really hope to see you there, and please do register. It's in the chat, the link to that, and if not, just shoot us an email. Thanks, Sonia. That's fantastic.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.